Yeah, it's a good feeling. We had a really good camp, a lot of improvement, and it's just something special when you're actually competing against an opponent. And the players feel that. You can feel the added energy and just the excitement to not always going against ourselves, but getting ready for an opponent.
I know it's probably not easy to pick, but what position group were you most pleased with their progress in camp?
Well, you're right. That's not easy to pick. It's hard. I really do think we showed improvement at every spot. I mean, including quarterback, who, he's a 4-year starter. But I thought, the running backs, we like our depth there. Our offensive line, even though we lost 2 pretty good players, we feel like we have better depth there. And tight ends have always been kind of a leadership position for us, because we got experienced guys there, and they've lived up to that and improved their game. And then the receiver position is a lot better, simply from the fact we had a lot of first-year players last year, and now the biggest improvement you make is from year 1 to year 2. So I really do feel like we've improved as an offense, and hopefully we'll see that on Saturday.
What would you say the hallmarks of Adrian's August have been or were? I mean, what did you notice most about this game?
He's always been a leader. I think he did a lot of good things in the summer to get his body even in better shape than he has been. Because we ask our quarterbacks to run sometimes, and he doesn't get tired. He kind of pushes the pace of practice, pushes the tempo. He's throwing more accurately than he's thrown in the past. So he's really taken up every notch of his game another notch. And then from a leadership standpoint, which is where we really need him, he's done the same thing there too by being a little more vocal. Our guys look to him as a leader. And the biggest thing by being a leader is leading by example. Being the first one out there, taking charge, going 100 miles an hour, and he's doing all that type of stuff. And so I'm excited to see where he can take us as our leader.
Running backs, how do you've got a couple that you like, and Scott said a couple weeks ago you'd like to have one. So how do you balance letting a guy get a rhythm and then also having multiple guys that you want to see over the course of the
Yeah, you got to have multiple guys just from the beating those guys take, and you never know what's going to happen in a game. But we do feel like we've closed in on one. We're not releasing any depth charge right now, but we want to have one guy kind of take the bulk of the load. And the other thing, sometimes the game determines that. If a guy gets in there, is running really well and breaking tackles and doing a good job, that guy's going to stay in there. And so, but at the same time, you got to be smart enough to have, if it's to the point where it's a 10-play drive and he's not as efficient or he's a little bit tired, we need to get another guy in there, and we feel like we have capable backups to do that.
What's it? We talk about Step, Irvin, and Morrison. Are all 3 of those guys that you think can handle sort of a feature back type workload in a game over the course of the season?
Yeah. So all 3 of those guys, if for whatever reason, circumstance, was that specific guy was the guy, we feel good about it.
What is a bulk of the load? Like, how many carries is that, do you think?
Tough to say, but you like to see a guy, when our offense has been real efficient, we've had guys that have carried anywhere from 20 times to 26 times. And some of that depends on how the game's going, or the run-pass ratio, trying to stay balanced, what the score is. So a lot of things go into that.
Can you tell in August which guys can get those extra couple of yards? You know what I mean? When the practice structure and implementation, they sometimes put on tackles and stuff. Or do you need the games to sort of see who's that guy?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. Telling, because we don't do a lot of live stuff. We want to keep our guys healthy. But we feel like we've done enough live stuff to see what some guys can do. And, even though we don't tackle guys and bring guys to the ground and try to stay up and play full speed, you get a pretty good indication of who's going to finish, who can make the cuts, who can do their assignments. But I do think, some guys in games take it up another notch. And we're not going to know that until Saturday who that is.
Hey, Matt, how much Brett Beal are you familiar with, and just how much have you watched over the years as a defensive coach?
Yeah, I mean, just as a big picture coach, one of the more successful guys in the country. He's been successful as a head coach a lot of places, been successful as a coordinator. We got our work cut out for us for a whole bunch of reasons. They're going to be good. They beat us last year. They've hired a really credible coaching staff with a lot of experience, and we've tried to do our best to look at everything we could possibly get from the defensive coordinator that came from the University of Missouri and the things they do, and then kind of also tracking back Coach Balima's history and the different places he's been in the NFL, And so you can't prepare for everything. All you can kind of do is give your best guess, be as prepared as you possibly can, so your kids know what they're doing. And I think we're in a good place.
It might seem sort of self-explanatory, but is it, how much of that falls on Adrian to make the initial move on the face?
Yeah, well, every position, especially the quarterback position, is going to have to react to maybe something that we didn't show them on game day. That's part of football, especially in the first game. As coaches, what we try to do is make the plays or the game plan as simple as possible, so when there's a wrinkle here, a blitz here, or something we didn't prepare for them, they can react and play. And then show them as many variables as possible. And I'm a big believer in this. Sometimes the less plays you have, the more answers you have, because if they do this, we got to have an answer for it. And so we've really kind of kept that as a mindset as a coaching staff is, hey, we got to have plays, no matter what they come out in, we feel like we can execute and we have answers to those issues.
A lot of your running backs and wide receivers have not played significant snaps at Nebraska. Do you say anything to them beforehand to calm their nerves, like, hey, it's just like practice, or anything to calm them down for this first big game?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're going to have some first-time guys in the game. And we try to do as many game-type situations, so it's not a shock to them, but it is still different on game day. And what we found is the more focused you can actually be on your specific assignment in that play alleviates nerves. If you start thinking about everything, the game, I haven't played yet, blah, 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 then that's when you lose focus and the nerves actually get to you. But if you can really focus in on your exact assignment, it actually helps you alleviate nerves and play better. So that's going to be our big message is, control what we can control, your assignment, focus on that, and then play the next play. And then if you can really do that, it does a good job of kind of mellowing you out, staying in the moment, and not worrying about all the other stuff that's going on.
While we're on the topic of experience, last we made about Illinois, all the six-year guys that they have coming back, what challenges does that present to you guys as a team? They have all these guys that have been around the block. We've seen a lot of you guys do.
Sure. Well, we know they're going to be good, and we should definitely know they're going to be good because they beat us pretty good last year. So we know we got our work cut out for us. And, it's always an advantage to have an experienced team that knows what's going on, even though they got a new system to deal with. But and I'll say on our side, too, we feel like we're a lot more experienced as well. And we feel like we're better prepared than we were last year at this time. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday.
Where are you guys seeing that experience pay off on this side?
Well, we're executing. Speaking offensively, we're executing better. We're able to do a little bit more because last year we had so many first-year players. So I think it's a combination of guys feeling confident and being able to execute better, understanding the package better, which lets you do a little bit more, and hopefully that'll all show on Saturday.
Oliver Martin's a kind of a quiet guy. How have you seen his personality sort of grow over the last year? What do you think of him just as a person, not just as a player, but just a guy?
Well, he's still definitely a quiet guy, and I love the way he comes to work every day and gives everything he's got. You can make an argument with a lot of these guys, but he's up there. He's never missed a rep at receiver. The way we rep guys and go 100 miles an hour and split our team into 3 different groups, he never missed a rep, and he goes full speed every single play. So I've been very proud of the way he's practiced. He's made a ton of plays. He always thinks he can get better. He's very coachable, and as a coach, really, that's all you can ask for. There's a big difference from him this year as opposed to last year. He's way more confident because last year he wasn't even eligible, I think, until game 4, so he didn't have fall camp with us. So even though he is kind of an experienced guy in some other schools, he was a freshman, and so he's not playing like a freshman anymore. He's playing like an experienced guy that we can rely on to make plays.
Were you not sure if he would contribute at all last year because of that situation, and how impressed were you that he really did want to put all of his effort into playing even last year?
Sure. Yeah, I was, because we were going through an appeal when he transferred to get him to be eligible. And you never know, that's in the NCAA's hands, so you never know what's going to happen. And so we, as coaches, we didn't know. And he did a good job because he wasn't able to practice with us. When he came back, we tried to do some extra stuff to get him caught up, but you have to do some stuff on your own. And to his credit, he did. And he's very smart. He's a quick learner, which that obviously helps. But all that, his work ethic, the type of person he is, comes from a great family, all that helped him get on the field last year. But he's going to be, I really think, a lot more improved this year as opposed to last year, just because of his confidence and understanding our system.
What has impressed you about Samari Toure as he gets ready for his first game?
Sure, so some of the similar things that I talked about with Oliver, he's a guy transferred in. So even though he is an older guy, he's still new to our program. You wouldn't tell that. I mean, our guys look to him as a leader because he developed a lot of good habits at the University of Montana. He brought those with him, and we've tried to enhance them. But he works his tail off. He's a fast learner. He's very talented. We can do a lot of different things with him. The thing that's impressed me the most with him is how he's learned it. And the same thing like Oliver had to do too. He had to put a lot of time in on his own to try to get up to speed. And we're going to slow things down for him, but he was learning things so fast. We felt like, hey, we can run our normal offense and do everything we did last year and then some because of his work ethic and how he's picked things up.
When did you identify that? And when did that kind of happen? Hey, man, we can actually throw a ball at it.
Yeah, I had a good feeling when he came here because I was friends with the University of Montana coaches, and they actually gave him a great endorsement, which usually doesn't happen when a guy transfers, especially when they're best players. But they kind of knew it's like, hey, this guy wants to pursue his dream at playing at a different level, and if he doesn't go to your place, he's going to go somewhere else. And so I think they kind of helped us, and they said, hey, you're going to love him. He's a leader for us. He learns really fast. He can do everything that you do because they do some similar things that we ask. So I felt really good. But you still don't know until they get here. And then the other thing that really surprised me is just how our whole team just embraced him, which I guess it shouldn't say. They embrace every new player on our program. Is they embraced him. They all kind of put him underneath their wing and treated him like he'd already been here and made him feel really comfortable. That's not easy to go to a place where you're already really successful. You're an All-American. And then you come here, you don't know anybody, you don't know anyone's name, and then you get thrown in the fire. And our players, just loved on him. And I think he felt that, gave him a little extra motivation. And he's in a good place right now because we expect him to do some really good things for us.
When you often hear offensive coaches, talk about quarterbacks say the number one thing they're looking for is decision making. What comes to mind first for you when it comes to decision making at that position? What things come to mind for you?
Well, a couple things. I think decision making is very important. How fast you can make those decisions, and being able to react. And part of that's as coaches giving him a game plan that he feels comfortable with, where he knows the reads. He can make the fast decision, and then just doing your job. When you make those reads and just going through progression, because sometimes where we've gotten in trouble in the past is not just the quarterback position, but maybe trying to do something a little bit too much, which gets you in trouble. Trust your progressions, trust the guys around you, and do your job. And Adrian's been doing that. And sometimes, because I said that some of the turnovers last year we were trying to do too much, and it hurt us. But if you just trust your protection, if that guy's not open, go to the next guy. And have confidence in that. We're going to be successful. And he's been doing that all camp.
Damian Daniels was talking about the against the offensive line. He said it was night and day yesterday. Just from your perspective, the offensive line, where do you see the lane?
Well, improvement. We feel like we have a lot of depth there. We lost two good players last year, but we also played a lot of young guys last year too, which was good. And so those guys have all took it up a notch. We think we have great leadership with Cam Jurgens, because as a unit, specifically the offensive line, you're always as good as your leaders. But when you have a proven center that's practicing harder than anyone on our team, or as hard, that rubs off on everybody else. So I think that's going to show. And I think our young players, again, have just been getting a little bit better each day.